Good morning. Jay with Bitten by Books, Book Bites from Great Scott Audio Productions. Today we're going to start with the first book in the Emberverse series called Dies the Fire by S.M. Stirling. Alternate history. Science fiction, fantasy, but alternate history. It's a really neat series and near and dear to my heart because the setting is here in the Pacific Northwest, Oregon primarily, which is where of course I am. We're going to start right when the change happens, and the change is this world-changing dystopian event. Larson stuck his head through the pilot's area. "Mind if I come up?" The big man wormed his way forward and collapsed into the co-pilot's seat. "Pretty country," he said, waving ahead and down. Pretty but savage, Havel thought. He liked that. One of the perks of his job was that he got to go out in it himself, hunting or fishing or just backpacking. And you could get some of the hairiest hang gliding on Earth here. "None prettier," the pilot replied aloud. Poor bastard, Havel thought to himself. Good-looking wife, 3 healthy kids, big house in Portland, vineyard in the Ellowa Hills, ranch up in Montana. He knows he should be happy and can't quite figure out why he isn't anymore. He concealed any offensive stranger's sympathy and switched the other set of headphones onto a commercial station. "Damnedest thing," the big man said after a while, his face animated again. "Yes?" "Odd news from back east," Larson said. "Some sort of electrical storm off of Cape Cod. Not just lightning, a great big dome of lights over Nantucket. 6 different colors. The weather people say they've never seen anything like it." Mary Larson brightened up. She was Massachusetts born herself. "That is strange," she said. "We used to summer on Nantucket when I was a girl." Mike Howell grinned to himself and filtered out her running reminiscences and Larson's occasional attempts to get a bit in edgewise. Instead, he turned to the news channel himself. The story had gotten her out of mood, which would make the trip a lot less tense. But behind her, the 3 Larson children were rolling their eyes but keeping silent, which was a relief. The voice of the on-the-spot reporter cruising over Nantucket Sound started to range up from awestruck to hysterical. "They're really sounding sort of worried there," he thought. "I wonder what's going..." White lights flashed, stronger than lightning, lances of pain into his eyes like red-hot spikes of ice. Havel tasted acid at the back of his throat as he jerked up his hands with a strangled shout. Vision vanished in a universe of shattered light, then returned. Returned without even an afterimage, as if something had been switched off with a click. The pain was gone too, instantly. Voices screamed behind him. He could hear them well. "Because the engines are out," he realized. "Every fucking thing is out. She's dead, and I'm a smear on the mountain unless I get this thing flying again." That brought complete calm. "Shut up," he snapped, working with the yoke and pedals, seizing control from the threatening dive and spin. "Keep quiet and let me work." Sound died to somebody's low whimper and the cat's muted yowls of terror. Over that, he could hear the cloven air whistling by. They had 6,000 feet above ground level, and the surface below was unforgiving as any on Earth. He gave a quick glance to either side, but the ridge tops nearby were impossible, far too steep, and none of them bare of trees. It was a good thing he knew where all the controls were, because the cabin lights were dead. And the nav lights, too. Not a single circuit working. Not good, he thought. Not good. Not fucking good. He ran through the starting procedure one step and one step and another, and hit the button. Nothing. He cursed silently as he went through the emergency restart 3 times and got 3 identical meaningless click sounds. The engines are fucked. What the hell could knock out everything like this? And what was that white flash? It could have been an EMP, an electromagnetic pulse. That would account for all the electrical systems being out. He sincerely hoped not, because the only way to produce an EMP that powerful is to set off a nuke in the upper atmosphere. The props were spinning as they feathered automatically. She still responded to the yoke, thank God. But even the instrument panel was mostly inert, everything electrical gone. The artificial horizon and altimeter were old-fashioned hydraulics and still working, and that was about it. The radio was completely dead, not even a flip of static as he worked the switches. With a full load, the Chieftain wasn't a very good glider. They could clear the ridge ahead comfortably, but probably not the one beyond. They got higher as you went northeast. Better to put her down in this valley with a little reserve of height to play around with. "All right," he said, loud but calm voice, as the plane silently floated over rocks and spots where the long, straw-brown stems of last year's grass poked out through the snow. "Listen, the engines are out and I can't restart them. I'm going to take us down. The only flat surface down there is water. I'm going to pancake her on the creek at the bottom of the valley. It'll be rough, so pull your straps tight and then duck and put your heads into your arms. You, kid," Eric Larson was in the last seat near the rear exit. "When we stop, get that door open and get out. Make for the shore. It's a narrow stream. Everyone else follow him. Fast. Now shut up." He banked the plane, side-slipping to lose altitude. Christ Jesus, it's dark down there. There was still a little light up higher, but below the crest line he had to strain his eyes to catch the course of the water. The looming walls were on either side at a 45-degree angle or better. It would be like flying inside a closet with the light out if the valley hadn't pointed the east to west and the creek was rushing water over rocks fringed with dirty ice. Thank God the moon's up. He strained his eyes. Yes, a slightly flatter, calmer section. It ended in a boulder about the size of a mobile home he lived in, water foaming white on both sides. So I'll have to just stop just short of that. In. Sinking into the night, shadow reaching up. Gliding, the valley walls rearing higher on either side, trees reaching out like hands out of the darkness to grasp the Piper and throw it into a burning wreck. Lightly, bleed off speed with the flaps, but don't let her stall. Keep control. Then he was nearly down, moving with shocking speed over the churning, riffled surface silvered by moonlight. "Here goes. Brace for impact," he shouted, and pulled the nose up at the last instant, straining to control the yoke. They were past the whitewater section. It should be deeper here. "Come on, you bitch, do it!" The tail struck, with a jolt that snapped his teeth together like the world's biggest mule giving him a kick in the ass. Then the belly of the chieftain pancaked down on the water, and they were sliding forward in a huge rooster tail of spray, scrubbing off speed in a fraction. And shaking like a car with no shocks on a real bad road, they hit lumps of floating ice. Another chorus of screams and shouts came from the passengers, but he ignored them in the diamond clarity of concentration. Too fast, he thought. The boulder at the end of a flat stretch was rearing up ahead of him like God's own fly swatter. He snarled at death as it rushed towards him, and he stamped on the left rudder pedal with all of his strength and twisted at the yoke. The ailerons would be in the water and should work to turn the plane. If he could. So there is the beginning of the end of civilization, if you will. Go out and grab these. They're a lot of fun. Dystopian stuff is a lot of fun, and I like it a lot. And this one's kind of a different take. So it's not a big, giant, nuclear war or anything like that to give something away. Unlike some of the other books by Robert McCammon and that sort of thing. It's not a plague. But pick them up. They're a hell of a lot of fun and a great ride. Next time we're going to go and visit The Lies of Loch Lamora, the Gentleman Bastard series. And then we'll see where we go the next time after that. Thanks, and have a good week.